Welcome to Lesson 2. Here we'll go over tutorials, examples, and practice to help you as you continue to read Of Mice and Men. Specifically, we'll focus on asking questions, determining importance, and various literary terms from this section. First, we'll talk about asking questions. Good readers ask questions before, during, and after reading. There are many reasons to ask questions. For example, question asking is a key life skill, and you can practice while clarifying the meaning of words, phrases, and/or ideas before, during, and after reading. Also, doing something active while reading will help you pay attention and remember what you read. Student-generated questions also increase engagement, and they inform your teachers. If you're able to ask questions, your teachers know what you need help with, and they also know what confuses or interests you. Lastly, school has been a place where adults come each day and work very hard, and where kids watch the adults work. One step in building a culture where students carry more of the thinking load is to help you guys learn to ask important questions. And that's what we're here to practice today. First, it's important to know that there are different kinds of questions. There are skinny questions and fat questions. Skinny questions have one brief correct answer. For example, how many roundabouts do we have in Lawrence? To find out how many roundabouts in Lawrence, one could count, and there would be one brief correct answer. There would be one number to answer this question. In contrast, a fat question is open-ended. It causes one to ponder, and it elicits opinions and discussion. For example, how effectively and economically do roundabouts control traffic in Lawrence? There are going to be many different opinions. Some people may think that they are effective and they are economical, while others may believe something different. Oftentimes, with fat questions, the person answering will respond with details and have to provide examples in order to support their opinions. There are many things that you can do to help yourself ask questions. First, think about all the different instances when you have to ask questions. Maybe you have questions when you learn a new hobby or when you're reading new material. Become aware of those questions and also become aware of the role questions play in your daily thinking. You can also practice paying attention to questions that occur to you while you read. Write them down, ask others, try to discuss, make predictions. Think about what you're wondering about. Sometimes you might think that you have no questions at all, and this is probably a sign that you're not thinking as deeply as you could about the content, or you might not be aware of all the questions you have. If this is the case, reread. Then try to complete this sentence. I wonder. What is it that you're thinking about? What are you wondering? Make a prediction. Think. Next, we're going to look at some examples. On page 18, Candy says, "The boss was expecting you last night. He was sore as hell when you wasn't there to go out this morning." When I read this, I stopped and I asked myself, will George and Lenny be fired because they were late? This is a skinny question. It has one brief answer, either yes or no. And it's also easy to find in the text. As we read, we find out that no, they were not fired because they were late. For a fat question example, I chose this passage. George lifted his tick and looked underneath it. He leaned over and inspected the sacking closely. Immediately, Lenny got up and did the same with his bed. I stopped here and I asked myself, why does Lenny always imitate George? This is not directly in the text. I had to figure it out and make inferences based on what I know. This would be a good question to talk to other readers to find out what they think. There is not just one specific example, yes or no, or a number, or something that we necessarily all agree on. Now it's your turn to practice asking questions. Turn to page 37, the last page of chapter 2. Pause the presentation and reread page 37 while thinking about the questions you have. All right, what questions did you have? Were they fat? Were they skinny? If they were fat, they could have had lots of answers. If they were skinny, then it'd be one answer. If you did not have any questions, reread it again with these questions in mind. What questions do you have about what will happen next? What questions do you have about a word you did not understand? What questions do you have about a character? Remember, it's important to ask questions. Be sure to watch the Determining Importance tutorial next.